Hello and welcome to today's quick recap on the FTSE and DAX. We're going to have a look at today's markets. It's the 4th of June. We're approaching the halfway point of 2024, and I'm just opening on the weekly chart for the DAX here and then the FTSE on this side. Both on the weekly chart we can see we've had some serious extension upwards to that upper Bollinger band. Not quite there for the DAX, but it's super high historically, so we've had a few weeks of downward trajectory, 3 weeks there and a little kind of a doji looking bar on the weekly for the FTSE, and 4 down weeks including the current week for the DAX. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, so just noting that we are super high historically. I'm going to zoom in a little bit on both the charts on the 5 minutes. Now I can see that the UK cam levels are kind of spread out. They're not really tight, they're not close together, so it's hard to determine from this basis which level I'd be looking to buy off. So it's really down to price action. If we see a nice spike down into a particular level and see some rejection, a bit of a wick forming quite quickly, that could be an indication that there is a turnaround coming. If we come down and start bouncing off, for example, the S2 and it starts coming back up, that could indicate there is potential to buy the market there. But the close and this previous day's low, so the extreme gap at this point is between this level and the low here, as well as the close gap, which is very close as well. So basically closing on the lows yesterday or thereabouts, very close to that close point was the low, and I'd be anticipating that the market will eventually get to this level unless we have a really strong down day where it just falls and falls. I would be aiming for this close gap, or at least the low, the extreme gap there. Ideally we'd see a bit of a move downwards before that, because I wouldn't necessarily like to get in at this point. While it could go directly to the close, I would prefer to see a bit more downward movement, because the stops are going to be a little bit more advantageous for the risk reward ratio and that kind of thing. So getting in too early on this one, while it could be a good trade, it does have its risks associated there that I wouldn't be willing to take. Over to the DAX, we can see the levels are far more condensed. The lows did close separately to the close, and the high is away from the close as well, so we've got a very central close gap and we don't have an extreme gap on the DAX. We're close to the previous day's low. We've got the S1 and the cam fairly close together with that low as well, so I would be anticipating some good buys off this area here. Obviously watching the price action, watching the order flow, that kind of thing. If you've got an Apex account, obviously you can watch that order flow if you've paid for the upgraded DAX access. Again, if you've watched my videos, I'd be expecting a push down into these levels first before then targeting either the close gap or even up to this upper confluence here. The real target would be, sort of the pivot and the close around this area. Obviously, again, watching the market for that order flow, seeing what's actually going on. Is it rejecting off a particular level? That kind of thing. So we're kind of approaching this confluence down here already. If we open around this level, obviously I'd be hoping for some buying to come in before I get long, because if we get below these levels, the market could just drift away from us. It's been quite bearish, so it could just sell away for the rest of the day, and trapping a lot of buyers in from this level who don't want to get out because they're so confident on the trade. In actual fact, the breakout short level could indicate that the market will continue to break out and continue the trend downwards, which it has had for the recent few weeks. So we can see the market's kind of shifting down. Perhaps we might see some buying coming in at some point, but I would expect that there could be a nice little move off this confluence here. I'd be more confident with the DAX over the UK. It is important to note, obviously, with that downward trend on both markets, selling could be ideal. You could potentially sell off a close touch, or perhaps if the market does get up to these levels, selling from this level up here for a short position later on if the market kind of gets up there. As for the FTSE, I'm not too sure on a point where I'd be happy getting short. If it did come up and touch the close gap, it may just continue upwards, and I'm not confident on a level where I'd like to get short. So again, that one, if you are trading the FTSE, you'd have to really rely on that order flow and other analysis that you might be using to take you into those trades. Just do a quick scope out of the Bollinger Bands on the other time frames to see if there's any value there. Perhaps the 1 hour could indicate if we got down to, say, the breakout short quite sharply, that could spike us out of that Bollinger Band in time, indicating that we may have a nice buy opportunity. Same for if we rallied really fast up to, say, the R1 to get us outside the upper Bollinger Band, it could be an indication for us to get short potentially. Go down to the 30-minute, we're already approaching the 30-minute lower Bollinger Band on the FTSE, and same for the 15-minute. So any push down on the 15 to 30 could be a push outside the Bollinger Bands. Over to the DAX, I'll just put the UK back on the 5-minute. Over to the DAX, just check the Bollinger Bands, see if there's any value. Bollinger Band is below this confluence here, which could form a bit of a concern for anyone looking to get long. We're already outside on the 30-minute, so if we do get a nice push down, that'd be a very strong exit from the lower Bollinger Band, hitting that level and potentially being able to take us back up quite nicely. 15-minute, very much the same, and on the 5-minute, just for that open time, it's in about 15 minutes from the recording, so I'm going to try and upload it as quickly as possible. Good luck today, guys, and we'll talk to you soon.